No. Oh, sorry. And what about that one there? Thank you. Much. Sales call. Ladies and gentlemen, glad to see everybody tonight. We'll call this meeting to order for the Upson County Board of Commissioners for Tuesday, September the 13th. If you would at this time, please rise for invocation. Councilman Head's here tonight. He agreed to take care of the invocation for us tonight. They'll be followed by our pledge.
You'll bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for all the many blessings that you give us. We thank you for the place that we live. And we pray for the commissioners as they work tonight, that they will honor you and all those that they represent. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. If you join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, first on the agenda is a public hearing. Legacy Ranch LLC of Delaware requested Upson County permit a recreational facility composed of cabins, a dormitory, gyms, a general purpose building, and several other buildings for organized camps at 5020 Barnesville Highway, State Route 36. The total property is about 1,500 acres, more or less, and further identified as being composed of 22 parcels formerly known as the Rock Ranch. This use will be contained on a small portion of this property, approximately 305 acres, and larger community events may be held on a larger portion of the property. So with that, I need a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of opening the hearing, just public hearing's open. All right. The list isn't as long as I thought it would be. We've got 8 people signed up tonight. So again, the rules for speaking for Board of Commissioners, you get 5 minutes and you address your comments to the board through the chairman, and I'll kind of give you a nod when you're getting towards your 5 minutes, and we'll get going from there. First, and if you would please, when I call your name, I think there's an X right there on the floor and an X on the floor over there. Whichever one you can get to that X. Remember that we are being broadcast on our online platform, and so just if you would just please speak up so that those that are tuned in online can hear you. So first, Mr. Blackston. And just state your name and your address for the record, and your time will start.
Rusty Blackson, 387 Pembroke Road, D-Rock, Georgia, native to the Legacy Ranch.
Good to see you.
First, let me commend you guys and thank you for the work you do, because I know you don't never get things enough. And second thing to consider tonight, this hearing is not for a hoorah or a trash session. It is for only the approval of the zoning. Not what good it'll do, what negative it'll do. It's only concerning the zoning. But I do have a couple of questions. Maybe Mr. McElroy here can help me with it. And you just made the statement, Mr. Chairman, 305 acres. I have the map. I understand that. But it said larger community events may be held on larger tracts. That means that will be outside of the 305 acres. Am I not correct? And if so, what type of events will be held? Will there be any restrictions on this? Another question I have is, in the package of master plan, they show cabins, which they're going to build, and they want to start with 2. One a stick-built cabin, and another a container-type cabin, like you see these container trucks up and down the road. I just want to warn the board, you open it up for container cabins to start rebuilding, you're going to see those scattered all over the county. People put them up for deer camps, people put them up for so-called recreation, vacation facilities. You're going to have a mess on your hands. Next question I'd like to, Mr. McElroy, maybe to address, this dormitory that you're building is 300 to 400, Naval House 3 to 400 people. Has anyone given any thought to fire suppression? This larger building is going to be the largest housing facility in the county. I mean, it holds more than Upton County Hospital. Fire suppression, where are you going to get the water? Because it's going to be required to have a sprinkler system in there by state law. Where are you going to get the pressure, the water, and the volume point? That's the question I have. And I know a man should be able to do what he wants to with his own property, but I hate to see the historical site there at the front entrance, the old house that goes back into the 1800s, to be destroyed to make a parking lot out. That's just my feeling. But there are some things I'd like to see as restrictions possibly put on this. Events to be over by midnight, floodlights to be out by midnight, music and noise to be quiet by midnight, 11 o'clock, whatever you'd like to impose. And, you know, they used to have the 4th of July fireworks there. I would just appreciate, and I know there's a lot of people out here who would like to be notified when that does happen or when it's going to happen. Because we used to chase cows and put them up every year when them fireworks went off. We'd be up till 11, 12, 1 o'clock at night chasing cows, putting them back in the field. Just things like this, some things that need to be considered. But if you approve this as it's written for larger tracts, you're opening the door for anything to be held on another 1,500 acres at this time. That's all I got to say. If you can answer some questions.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll get those answers for you during the discussion.
All right.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Mr. McElroy, you're on here to speak for 5 minutes, but I got a feeling that, you know, that you'll probably be involved in some of the back and forth, but if you want your 5 minutes, the floor is yours.
I don't think it'll take me 5 minutes, Mr. Chairman, Board. Thank y'all for listening to me tonight. Appreciate that.
Name and address for the record.
Okay, it's 671 Heritage Lake Drive, Griffin, Georgia,
Thank you.
02224, name D. McElroy. I guess, do you want me to address some of the
Sir, it's your 5 minutes, whatever you want to do.
Well, you know, I guess you've got the packet, you know what we want as far as the dormitories, the gym, the boxing arena, the tiny homes, or not, I guess, tiny homes, but cabins is what we're calling them. We ask that you approve all that to go on this property, and I'm not sure, I don't think Pastor Moe can address this, but I don't think we've asked for anything to be held on outside of the 305 acres, have we? Yeah, that's, I don't know where that got in the packet, I don't know what it is, but we haven't asked for anything to be held outside the 305 acres that we're asking to be zoned. As far as fire suppression, there's multiple ways to do that with wells and holding tanks and the lakes. All of it will be through EPD, EPA, environmental health, building and zoning. We'll get all the proper permits, all the requirements will be met. I guess I'll just yield my time and let everybody speak their piece. If we have any more complaints, we'll just try to address them. If the board has any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Raines, good to see you, sir.
You. Maurice Raines, Upton County, live at 1141 Highway 80, Cologne, Georgia. First of all, Chairman Allen, Commissioner Ellington, Wilder, and Jones, thank you for taking my calls. I called you about my concerns about this project. Thank you for sharing your input on this project. But I come tonight and said this needs to be over. We need to approve this to move forward for the betterment of the community. You've dealt with this before. This is no animal. You're not going to make everybody happy. But at the end of the day, is it the right thing to do? That's the question we have to ask ourselves. Is it the right thing to do? I think it's the right thing to do because I'm a little biased because I've dealt with this man for over 4 years. I've seen what the impact of what he does affects so many lives. And then not only that, he's talking about offering it to the community. When I say offer it to the community, we can't set parameters of what that is. Mr. Harvey is the one to set the parameters for what that is. But I will say, being a resident of this community all my life, served as chairman of the county commission for 4 years, knowing this community inside and out, I would not waste my time or your time coming up here asking you to support something that I feel is not good for the community. Again, thank each one of you that took my calls, shared your concerns, shared your thoughts. And I will say this, the previous hearings that were held in the Upson County Planning Commission was a joke. The delays, the things that were asked that were not necessary, the back and forth with, to me, a zoning administrator should get with the applicant to make sure they understand what they're asking, because some people may not know, but the zoning administrator knows. But for when a zoning administrator can come before the board and say, they didn't meet this requirement, did you ask? Did you ask them before you submitted it to the commission that this is your findings, or did you just say it? I think we need to look at that hard, because we asked about tax property, we asked about all kind of things that was outside of the scope of approving the zoning request. And so I just think that's something that you need to look at, and I think the zoning administrator needs to be a little more helpful. And the reason why I bring that up, the last time I came before you about a zoning request was about 96 acres for a cemetery. First of all, everybody in Upson County knows nobody wants 96 acres for a cemetery. I think the zoning administrator could have asked, is this what you're asking the board to approve? But that wasn't done. So I'm just asking you as a board and a body to let's move forward in a positive way and look at those concerns that I shared about the Planning Commission. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Mr. Chastain.
Good evening. Andy Chastain, Upson County Tax Commissioner, 116 West Main Street. I had planned on coming earlier in support of the Legacy Ranch and what they're doing. But I was asked earlier in the week, and I've also got some calls over the last couple of weeks since the last planning commission meeting about property taxes. And I'll hang around for a little while, you know, if y'all do have questions about property taxes later. But at the planning commission meeting, the figures have changed since then, and y'all may know this, you may have already looked it up, the tax amount that's paid. And I think the concern that people are voicing is if this property is tax exempt through a purely public charity, what would be the loss in revenue? Well, last year's revenue was $45,000 for 2021. We just got the bills for 2022, and the revenue is $50,870. $22,000 of that would be going to the county. The school would be getting the remainder. Okay. Now that's if all the parcels involved are exempt under purely public charity. And that's, you know, the charity deal, the exemption, that's gonna be worked out between, from what I understand, the lawyers and the tax assessors and all that. It's not something that's guaranteed, but it is something that's possible. Now, how does that reflect in the county's revenue? This $50,000, might as well call it 51, it's 19/100ths of 1% of the tax revenue that my office takes in and pays out countywide. So looking at it, that's like a drop in the bucket, okay, that would be lost. From 2018 to 2022, we've had a digest growth of $182 million. That alone, you know, has counted for a lot of increased tax revenue. And next year, we're anticipating probably another $50–60 million in digest growth. So, you know, this $50,000 that might be lost in tax revenue is, like I said, just a drop in the bucket. A couple of comments I wanted to make, and I'll be done. Like I said, I'll hang around. I think Mr. Raines put it best is, this is the right thing to do. Steve Harvey, Legacy Ranch, they've chosen Upson County to do a good thing, to give our county the opportunity to help others, and that's what it's all about, who you help along the way. And I think this is a great opportunity for that to happen. Certainly your job is tough. You're not going to make everybody happy with the decision you make. But I think giving them a chance to grow and help these young people is the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I've been told there's like 15 people out in the hallway. There's one, two, there's a couple of seats in here.
I can stand
I
up.
can stand up.
I mean,
I can stand
We
up.
can stand up.
I mean,
The
We
point
can-
is, sir, the point is that we're filled to capacity for the fire code.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
Can
I mean,
bring a few more
are we
in,
at
but
fire
then that's
code?
gonna upset the rest of them that you allow to come in.
if,
That's your bylaw.
I mean, it worked out.
I mean, the meeting, I mean, was there anybody standing outside at 6 o'clock when the meeting started?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anybody out there that was denied the opportunity to sign up to speak to us, or are they,
I've just been telling them that we're full capacity, so I've been telling
who told you that?
I mean,
I mean, well, I say that because this is this board's meeting. So, you know, I mean, we're confined to this space, and we'll do the best we can. And I know that, you know, it's typically, we put the sheet out there, and when 6 o'clock rolls around, I personally, and if you guys will indulge me, I would ask if there's anybody out there who's wanting to come in and speak. Do you guys want to allow them to sign the sheet? I mean, I guess it's a question for the attorney. I mean, are we going down a slippery slope? I mean, they couldn't get in here, but I don't want to deny somebody the opportunity to speak.
You know, ultimately, it rests on you to decide whether or not you want to potentially violate the fire code or deny an open meeting. So, it's 6.5 bills and over.
Well,
Bylaw state that everybody.
ma'am, you're out of order, so please. And I'm not sure we have bylaws that, we have ordinances. So, would you ask if there's somebody out there who wanted to speak that didn't have the opportunity to come in? They can come in. Is that okay with you guys? I don't want to deny them.
Send out the sign-up sheet.
If, Jessica, do you have a piece of paper that he could give if they want to, we'll extend the sign-up sheet out there and have them come in.
Are you gonna hold on?
I'm gonna hold on to the one we have, so we'll keep going on business. And then, we'll go from there.
Mr. Chairman, you could always keep the public hearing open, and then as maybe some people can cycle out and some other people come in.
Yeah. Okay. We're doing the best we can, folks. Okay, and while she, I mean, please, we're conducting business, so keep your comments low. All right, next is Mr. Lynch. Again, come up here. There you are. You're already there.
I'm already there.
All right.
Go for it. Board, Commissioner, good evening, everyone, community. My name is Marlon Lynch III, also known as Pastor Mo. I reside at 5020 Highway 36. First and foremost, I want to thank the commission and the community for coming by, calling me, emailing me, asking questions about, you know, the plans and the structure and anything else you want to know about the Legacy Ranch. I really do appreciate that. I just want to make a couple of comments just real quick and simple. As Maurice said, it's the right thing to do. But as I sit here today, and I walk in and I look around the room, I see a glimpse of heaven. I see black people. I see white people. I see people from all across the world. And that's what we want at the Legacy Ranch. I just want to be clear. The Legacy Ranch is just not for black people. It's for a glimpse of heaven. If we're blessed to get to heaven, it's not going to be a black section. It's not going to be a white section. It's not going to be a Hispanic section. It's going to be a Legacy Ranch section. It's going to be all people from everywhere, including your kids and your grandkids. So that narrative that is just for black people, we need to kill that today. It ain't never been just for black people. just want to put that on record. As I was in my car praying, and I was walking in here, the Lord told me to say this, because that's what I'm accountable for. This community in this world is like a box of crayons. How many of y'all use a box of crayons?
Sir, you have to address your comments to me,
Okay.
to the board. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
Okay, yep, Mr. Allen. Have you used crayons before, right? The crayon box is filled with a whole bunch of different colors, correct? Yes, sir. Some are dull, some are sharp, some are broken. But at the end of the day, guess what? They all still color. So I'm asking all of you to vote that we have the legacy branch, because we're gonna have people that some are dull, some are sharp, some are broken, but they still color. And in order for us to make an impact at the legacy ranch, it's gonna take all of us. Yes, the Harveys own it, but it's our ranch. What we put in is what we get out of it. The stories I done heard, the transformations I done heard. Why we go reject that? So I'm just asking if we can just set the approval so we can start this phase 1 and start to impact lives. Because if we can help one person stay out of jail, prison, or the graveyard, then we did what we were supposed to do. I give my time.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Okay, Mr. Searcy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, I stand here today.
Name and address for the
Oh,
record.
I'm sorry. Edward Searcy, 525 Acorn Drive. I stand here today representing JOY, which is Justifying Our Youth Community Development Program. It's a program that's been here in Thomaston 10 years, 2 years deficit due to the pandemic. It was a summer program that we held 8 weeks throughout the year. Did different activities with the kids, Monday through Friday, with a field trip every Friday. Rapidly, Sheriff won't mind, but he's familiar with the program. Some of his deputies, police officers have come out to interact with the kids, have brought the dogs out, doing different things like that. So they have supported this because of what the kids get out of it. It makes a difference in their lives. Well, right now, since the pandemic has hit and we took that pause, God has given me a vision and He's given me an assignment. Our kids need more than just a summer. Our kids need year-round support. We had 5 different areas, and I'm going to keep it brief. We had 5 different areas in our program. But the 6th that is being added is conflict resolution. Since the pandemic, there's a lot of that need. Well, as far as the Legacy Ranch, I know Mr. Harvey has this program. It's going to do wonders. It already has been. But right now, where Upson County is missing, I'm searching for a venue this day. Right now, as we speak. I've been around today searching for a venue to hold an event for our youth. Past, I've had a vision of trying to build a facility for our youth. 501c3. We might be able to get it built, but could we run it the way it needs to be ran? Don't know. But like Mr. Harvey said the last time he was here, it costs the Rock Ranch a substantial amount of money. He's going to try to do some things to offset that. We don't even have the means to offset our expenses like he does because of his success in life. So what I'm seeing is, with the ranch being opened back up to the public, this was a place we went each summer. We took our kids there. They rode the trains, the go-kart, the mini horses, all the activities they had, fishing and so forth. Well, again, right now, we need a venue. Been to the Civic Center, we can't get it because of things that's coming up with the Civic Center. Other venues can't get it because of things. Some venues we can get, can't hold the capacity. We just did our kickoff since COVID to bring our foundation back together. The kickoff was, we took a group of kids to Atlanta to the Falcons Jaguar game. We had 86 people in all. The largest venue I've been able to find holds 125. That's not gonna do anything for what we're trying to do. Why is that? Because the foundation is trying to do something for the community. So we had 86 with the foundation. We can't do much with the community. So we need a venue. The barn itself out there that's existing at the ranch now, it has held proms, family reunions, things of big magnitudes. Right now, if it was open to this day and we had access to it, it would accommodate what we need. In the future, we still need places because the places that have already been around, they're gonna still have the same thing going on just like they had in the past. It's gonna be closed down. We won't have access. We can easily take it to another community. Camp Grace, we've been told, bring it down here until the ranch is ready. Now we've got to bus our people to another community out of our community to do things that benefit our community. Now we just lost a third to a half of our youth. Why? Because we can't get them there. When we can have them right here at home with a facility to accommodate what we need. Overnight trips where we spend the night. We've been to Tennessee and places of that nature because they got the activities that we can do with the kids. We can have it right here at home with the dormitories. All the activities can be done. Thank you.
Appreciate you. Sorry you ran out.
Oh, you're fine.
Okay, Mr. Pridemore? Again, if you just name and address for the record.
Yeah, Dave Pridemore, Pastor Dave Pridemore, 2559 Walker Chapel Road, Roberta, Georgia. Just want to say a few words on behalf of Steve and Legacy Ranch. He's used my camp, Camp Grace, for several years, both the girls' portion and the guys' portion. Extraordinary, very well organized. They have a small ratio, programming, life change. I just can't say enough good things about how they run the camp. So from that standpoint, I think you ought to know that it's a very quality run camp. I had a heart to help underserved kids, and so went to Roberta, just down the road. And the commissioners gave me a thumbs up, and that was 14 years ago. We're a Christian camp. That was 14,000 kids ago. That was 5,166 salvations ago. We just bought another 153 acres. We're putting some football fields because FCA wants to bring a lot of kids out and present the gospel to them. Steve's heart, my heart, one thing, how can we help kids? How can we steer them the right way? And all of what I started to do, most of it I'm doing, but sometimes we see more needs once we get involved with the kids. And so we're able to adapt our program, adapt some of the things that we're doing to serve them better. So Crawford County, we do 4th of July, we do an Easter egg hunt, we do a fall festival. Little Roberta, the little school has 300 in it. The Good News Club had 9 kids going to the Good News Club on Thursday. She brought those 9 to camp, right? That was 4 years ago. She's running 168 kids now in that program after school because those kids will do anything to come to overnight camp. And overnight camp really is a key to winning the hearts of the kids. You got to win their hearts and their heads. So overnight camp is one of the best tools that I think I've ever found. I saw a camp like this in New York, came back to Georgia and said, how many camps do we have in Georgia exclusively for our underserved kids? I'm talking hundreds and thousands of kids, and we had none. So God led me to leave my church, and so I just started this on faith, and He is showing up. And so some good things are happening, and I can't say enough good things about, we take a lot of kids from Thomasville. Those kids need to hop 15 minutes down the road there, which they will. On the weekends, we're doing a lot of stuff on the weekends too. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, to get the kids out there, speak to their hearts. We have a Dare to Dream session every day with our kids. Kids need to know that their dreams can come true. So we're about the same thing. We're about helping kids, getting them on the right track, doing whatever we can on working with the community. We got the Business of the Year award from the Chamber of Commerce, so I think they like us. But I wanted to speak on his behalf. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Ms. Traylor.
How y'all doing? My name is Rhonda Traylor. I live at 116 Shasta Drive in Thomaston, Georgia. I just wanted to come back today with piggyback off what Mr. Raines said about how the things ran a little bit at the last session. That was very heartbreaking. And hopefully that can be rectified in things that are to come. But I really want to talk about, we really need this. As we look back on what happened at the school, on the school lockdown, the increase in crime for our young people, the resources that can be brought into this community. I called each one of y'all that I could, and I called in my very emotional state that I could be, with 2 children locked in a school that the Rhonda Traylor that used to fight in the streets can't go in and fight her way in to get her kids out. Stuck, driving an hour and 20 minutes from my job to get to Upson County, stuck. They say that it was a massager, okay? But then we find out more that the school cannot go on, that there really was a gun in this school. There truly was a young man that got out of this school and got home before the lockdown happens, so we look at the massager. That's one of the scariest things or scariest moments of my life when I called y'all. And one thing that I got from that is each one of y'all gave me the time to speak with you while I was crying, while I was emotional, while I was distraught, while I would have came from 8 feet of concrete up to save my children. Save mine. That's what I want. I want to save my girls. How do I save my girls with no resources? Young men, young women walking around with weapons and guns and shooting on whatever street, 3rd Street, whatever county street, whatever. They get these guns and they do these crimes. They have nothing to do here. There is no outlet for our children here in Upson County. The only thing my children have been able to do is go to a party that a respectful parent has for their children. And by the time they leave, blacks and whites are at these parties. By the time they leave, there's a shooting. Or there's someone that has pulled a gun. Right now, 2 young men are in jail, probably, if not today, Sheriff, I'm not sure, probably tomorrow, for pulling up to a child that was walking home from that very party and videotape them pulling a gun on this child. Heartbreaking. Now, I will say this about Camp Grace. Camp Grace has given Steve Harvey all the plans for construction. They are going to do wonderful. Listen, you don't have a partnership like that everywhere you go. Architects don't have to be, there's very minimal things that has to be done by McElroy or whoever with the things that they have shared. They didn't only share the buildings that they got in Roberta, the plans that they got in Roberta. They shared the plans to save our children. They made the plan to save our young adult, our youth, our babies, because they're our future. Right now, we're lost because we don't have what it takes to do the capacity of things that we need to do for them. I'm going to read this. I know that we are talking about venues. I know we're talking about land. I know we're talking about noise. I know we're talking about neighbors. But what about the lives that can be saved in this community? The children need something to better fulfill a need. And a need is to feel like you belong to somebody. I needed to feel like I belonged to somebody when I was in these streets fighting and doing whatever it was to make me feel like somebody was paying me attention. Yes, my mother paid me attention. Yes, my father and my my community paid me some attention, but I chose to go out there because I had nothing else to do to see what all of that trouble was about. I quickly learned that it can turn to something that you can't get out of quickly. But I stand here today, as I said at the other meeting, I stand here today as an RN in this community that's a product of a child that went to Camp Grace, brought some love back from that camp that they learned, and put some things in place. So please, y'all, please accept this and vote yes.
Thank you. Okay, is there a Mr. Nooks? Mr. Nooks and Miss Oglesby. Hey, Mr. Nooks, how are you, sir? Haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, good to see you,
Welcome
sir.
back to Upson County.
Thank you.
So you're here to talk to us for 5 minutes about this special exception request for Legacy Ranch.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir, you've got 5 minutes, so if you would, your name and address for the record.
Kirk Nooks, 419 College Drive, Barnesville, Georgia. Good evening, everyone, officials and those in the audience. My name is Kirk Nooks. I serve as president of Gordon State College, not too far away from here. At Gordon State College, we have over 3,000 students, of which approximately 1,000 of them have capacity to reside on campus. We do so in a fashion that the town-gown relationships is what we call it. It's pretty strong. Whether they're athletes or honor students, whether they come from right here in Upson County or up in Atlanta, we coexist with the community because we believe that the community and the college is together. While I can't speak on the specifics that might concern many of you in the audience, I'll speak on 3 topics right now. The first is education. I'm an educator, and I'm all about education and what's best to bring up, if you want to call it the attainment level of a community, because it's critical. We all want a better quality of life. And the research shows that the more you can educate students and provide broad range opportunities for them, the better they are in life, not only to secure a job, but to contribute back to your community, which is what we want. So as an educator, I would encourage you to think about the educational impact of transforming the lives of students. Now, I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and I can tell you Brooklyn, New York is very different from right here in Upson County and Thomaston. But it was because of education that allowed me to see a different life. And I can stand here before you, a first-generation college student with 3 degrees. My parents didn't have that opportunity, but it was because of education. The second thing I want to talk about is collaboration. We have a saying at the college, we believe in the power of we. So it's not just us, it's not just you, it's not just the faculty or staff, it's all of us coming together to make a collective decision for what's best for the we, not for the me. So with that, although I don't have my colleague here from Southern Crescent Technical College, Dr. Clark, or I don't have my colleagues from UGA Griffin, I could tell you as educators, we would come together to make sure that this possible STEM center becomes a reality. We're getting ready to sign an agreement right now with Monroe County School Districts that's creating something very similar. We just signed off on the paperwork today. It's about transforming the lives of those students and enriching the community. Finally, last but not least, I want to talk about the economic impact. Gordon State College contributes $129 million to the region. That's studies that comes out of the Carl Vinson Institute, the UGA. And every year they run these studies to talk about the magnitude and the impact of a Gordon State College. And what would happen if Barnesville and Lamar County, and quite frankly, Upson and Thomaston did not have a Gordon State College. Many of you are graduates, many of you came to Gordon State College, and because of Gordon State College, many of you hopefully would say that's why you are where you are today. So transforming the lives of young people is something that I'm personally invested in. We would partner with them to provide internships. We would partner with them so our students could work on that particular location. In fact, work study If you remember, 7% of the federal work-study dollars we receive should go out into the community for our students working in your community. Finally, last but not least, U.S. News and World Report just came out with their rankings just this week. Gordon State College is ranked number 98 in the nation for social mobility. And that's an indicator we're proud of. It basically means for the student who's the most least advantaged at the Pell Grant level, we transform lives. That's what we do at Gordon State College. I believe that's what we do in partnership with the folks at the Harvey Ranch. I believe that's what we already do in partnership with Thomaston Upson Schools. And if Dr. Derrico was here, he would attest to the impact of dual enrollment we have right here in this community. So I just stopped by tonight to thank you for giving me the opportunity to share about education, about collaboration, and about economic impact for the community. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. Okay. All right. That's all we have for comments. With that, I'll entertain a motion to.
Mr. Chairman, I believe there's one more on there, according to the clerk.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Man, I'm so glad y'all keep me straight. Connie Oglesby? Miss Connie Oglesby, Michael Street. I was so fired up after Mr. Nooks got done, I was ready to go back and re-enroll in Gordon. I got to remind him I was a 3-year freshman there. Life was good back in 1978. Hey, Miss Oglesby, I almost forgot you. I'm glad they straightened me out here. So if you would, just your name and your address for the record, and you have 5 minutes.
Well, I'm Connie Oglesby, 773 Michael Street, Thomaston, Georgia. I lived in Leesburg, Florida. When I heard about this program that Mr. Steve was trying to bring, I decided to come out of retirement and try to give them some help. I've had 23 years of work with at-risk kids, and I'm willing to give my service to them free. This community is a good community, and I came back to help us bring it back together.
Okay. All right. Oh, is that it?
That's it. Well, I'm just hoping that the approval could, come through with Mr. Harvey out here, because God sent me back to work with him.
All right, ma'am. Thank you. All right. So with that, I don't have any more folks signed up.
Do a last call.
Okay. Is there anybody else out there who did not get on the list that would like to sign up? If you just do a last call for me. Don't want to leave anybody out. That includes anybody else in here.
I came in, y'all had started.
Okay.
So I didn't get a chance to sign.
Would you like your 5 minutes?
I would.
Okay, ma'am. If you would just, and I'll have, after you get done speaking, you can fill out your name on that sheet. So your name and address for your record, please. You have 5 minutes.
My name is Valerie Trice. I live at 213 Robert Street, Thomaston, Georgia. I am a product of Upson County. I grew up here. I graduated from Upson High School, class of '84. When I heard about what Mr. Harvey was intending to do, I had decided I'd move back to Thomaston. Then I was thinking I'm going to move back out because we didn't have anything here. I have grandkids. I want to bring my grandkids here, and I want them to be involved with some things here in Thomaston, but Thomaston has nothing for them. I don't have anywhere to take them. You go to the Civic Center, they can't get in to just play basketball. They can't. I can't. There's a whole lot of things that we would like for our kids to participate in. I decided to stay here. I decided that when I heard about Mr. Harvey and the things that he was going to do for the community that would be great for the community, that when my grandkids come for the summer, they'll have something to do. They'll have somewhere to go. And it'll be all right. But we want our kids to be educated. We want our kids to see more And we want our kids to be able to participate in the same community that we grew up in. And we had a good time here. But I want to be productive here as well. And I want to be a part of what's going to go on in Thomaston. I took them to the Rock Ranch when they had the fireworks. I took them to the Rock Ranch to participate in the things that the Rock Ranch had going on. But we don't have that anymore. So now what do we have? What do we have? We have nothing. So when they would come in here this past summer, it's like, where we going, Mimi? We're going back up the road. I'm taking them to Griffin, Atlanta, Fayetteville. I can't put my funds here. I don't have anywhere to put it. So if you want us to put our funds here and help our community grow, give us something. Give us something.
Okay, man. Thank you. All right. If you would just ask them, I mean, I'm not asking them for to be quiet out there, but if they just tone it down a little bit, it's just a little distracting.
There's nobody else.
There's nobody else out there?
Don't want to speak.
No, that wants to speak.
Nobody else wants to speak, but I'm just saying, it's just a little noisy, which, so is there being no one else signed up for any more comments, is there a motion to exit the public hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, just, public hearing's closed. Jessica, if you would, just pass those two names down there. Okay, now to the business part of this. It's all business, but, Mr. Curry, I'll turn it over to you to help us navigate this.
Yes, sir.
So, and I just want to clarify something from, I mean, I heard several people comment that this was a rezoning. This is not a rezoning. This is a special exception. So just so everybody's talking the same talk on this. So anyway.
Yes, sir. By way of introduction, we got a very large packet. Planning Commission was privy to about 2/3 of the information you have. You also have a staff report that was prepared before some of the information you received. I would have described it and talked about a little bit more. And actually some of that information was in the critical areas of wastewater disposal and potable water. You've got a company, Greencastle Engineering, that talks about potential disposal of the wastewater effluent. And then you've got Middle Georgia Water Systems talking about the potable water. And they seem to be optimistic in their reviews that, at least for the part of the facility they looked at, and I think if you pay attention to the letter, you'll see that they're talking about basically the dormitory and the two gyms that are next door to that dormitory. They're not talking about all of the facilities, but specifically those and the capacities that would go along with that. And they seem fairly positive that they think that both of those facilities can be established, the water supply as well as the sanitary sewer. Now, there are a lot of questions that aren't answered, but I think we do have some positive information there that the Planning Commission didn't have. A lot of the other letters are letters of support. They really don't provide any technical support for the proposal and the sort of infrastructure things that we would look at. But again, those were missing in my staff report, again, because they're new information for us, not for you. It's all new for you. You've heard the presentation. Specifically, this is a special exception for an AR recreation facility in each one of our zoning districts. There's a list of acceptable special exceptions, and recreational use, recreational facilities is one of those. We have, through the iterative process of going through these hearings in the Planning Commission, narrowed it down to about 305 acres, which this specific special exception is talking about, and that most of these activities are addressing. Now, there are some independent activities that were minimally referenced in your packet. You may have seen some basically promotional flyers. They look like Easter activities, petting zoo, corn maze, Independence Day, those sort of things. There was not any detailed information about those, where on the property they would specifically be. So that's why we sort of have to, without that information, be a little general about whatever the impacts would be and where they are. So certainly the application has been submitted for a recreation facility. The concept plan, and you've got the most revised version in this presentation and also on your desk. We've got a new one with this latest information. It didn't change a lot. There's a building that got reoriented, and I'm sure Mr. McElroy can tell you if there are any other changes that I missed. Basically, the new facilities we're talking about for the entire 305 acres would be additional 12 cabins. There's a cluster of 8 and 4 on the north side of the property, a new dining hall, lodge, or event center, sort of one of those buildings that could be used for multiple purposes. The dormitory that you've heard reference to, there are 30 rooms, 150 bunk beds, so 300 capacity for the whoever's staying there, and then of course there's room for staff. There's some apartments in the upstairs. There's a basketball court gym and a boxing gym. These are immediately adjacent, you'll see on the site plan, to this. There's also, towards the end of the Planning Commission process, a STEM lab was added in Prayer House. We've not been provided any additional information. They were just on the site plan, the concept plan. Again, the total...
When you refer to the concept plan, this is what you're referring to?
Yes, that's
okay.
it. I'll eventually have it on the screen for the audience. It's a little later in the presentation. But yes, that's what we're talking about, that concept plan. That's the 305 acre out of certainly a much larger area. This is AR zoned, and that's why we're allowed to consider this type of special exception. The only floodplain we've got is, you may be familiar, in this area, the 305 acres, there's some wetlands. Those are the floodplain there. It's not expansive, but that is considered part of the floodplain on the site. There are buildings on site that will be continued to be used. That main office, when you first come in, will continue to be the main office to be used for administration and check-in. There is an existing multi-purpose building. As we know, as the county, we've been there and enjoyed it many times for our county picnic. That building will remain and be part of the facility. We've got a rock wall, outdoor basketball courts. Those are at least the ones that I'm familiar with that are already existing that would be part of this complex. On site, of course, you've got the former rock ranch structures, amenities, and appurtenances. To the north, you've got various low-density residential. We've got chicken houses in the area, wooded area, and you've got some planted pine next door. All of this area is zone AR. Special exceptions, we have a set of general review requirements. These standards are supposed to be used for all of the special exceptions by the Planning Commission as well as the Board of Commissioners. These are required to be used both by the Planning Commission, for the Planning Commission and the Board of Commissioners by state law and ordinances. In the area of water, the information that we have is that it will be these private wells. The information you have, the most latest information, there may be some additional wells. We don't really talk about capacity necessarily of each well or exactly how many they are. We don't have information about how many wells there are on site now or what their permitted capacity. Obviously, they're not pumping much now, but we don't know what the permitted capacity is that exists now. Sewage, there was some speculation, including by me, that there may be necessity for a package plant. It looks like, based on the letter, at least for the facilities they looked at, that traditional septic tanks will be acceptably used and implemented for at least the facilities that they talk about. Long term, we don't know whether that will continue. All right, the staff analysis. I still think there's additional information that could be supplied. The questions actually from the last staff report, a lot of them weren't answered, but we certainly have a lot more information, as I just discussed, than we had before. You have the questions. I won't go through those specific questions that are in there, but there are additional questions that could be asked and information that could be garnered. Staff recommendation, I think you've got a bunch of alternatives here, depending on which part of this, the aspects you're concerned about. The first is the Planning Commission has recommended approval with conditions. You have those in the staff report, and I'll go over those in a moment. So you have your body. They voted 4-0 in support with the conditions that you see in the staff report. Second option would be to approve just part of it. We see that a lot of the letters and correspondence you've got concentrated on those 3 buildings, the dorm and the 2 gyms. Obviously, the more facilities we just talked about, that you could approve part of it based on the information we have, and then they'd have to come back with whatever additional information you want for a phase 1D or whatever we wanted to call those things. That's your second option. A third option is to ask for additional information tonight. We've got the public hearing taken care of, then it's just a matter of getting enough information that you feel comfortable that you could take a vote at a future meeting. And your fourth alternative is deny the project tonight because of insufficient information, and then have them come back and start the process over again once you have additional information if you feel that's necessary. So staff presents at least those 5 options that I think are most logical. The Planning Commission recommendation, again, this is in your staff report. They recommended approval. The most critical thing here is I'll just highlight the conditions that they talked about. Basically, one was the facilities that you see in the concept plan that you have there are the facilities that are approved. If they want to add anything, significant changes, those would have to come back through the process. B, I guess that's exactly what we're talking about. The A is just a specific list of those, and B is a little bit generic and just references the concept plan. C, no motorized activities would be permitted. D is setback requirements. E talks about any permanent residence that might happen there, and do not allow any recreation vehicles unless they come back and propose an RV camp to be as part of this facility. Master site plan would be required to be updated. Any additional events may be held, but, and this is, again, we didn't have enough information, but they showed these, what I would just call brochures, sales brochures or promotional brochures that indicated these sorts of activities would happen. You might want to address it with this condition or fashion some more specific language. Then, of course, we talk about all regulatory permits being required to be gotten. It talks about just a provision about non-compliance if things aren't done according to the agreed processes or the permits. Then there were, the Planning Commission wanted there to be a restriction on use of the facility to keep it to basically the area of this county and our surrounding sister counties. They also wanted pursuit of a designation from the Georgia Department of Agriculture as an agritourism business. And then they also wanted a wastewater management plan to be produced before any buildings were permitted. All right, going into the graphics, the large box, the black, one of the black there, that is 305 acres roughly. Then you see the red area, that's the rest of Legacy Ranch. So you can see that there's a considerable area that we're not even talking about tonight. It's not part of this special exception. I apologize for this, the quality of this up here. There are more copies if anybody wants. This is the most updated version of the concept plan. I think the only change from the earlier versions that I saw is you see the dormitory there in the lower left. Then the 2 gyms. The one gym used to be sort of in an angle to the others, and now it's sort of been put in parallel. That's the only change from the previous concept plans that I noticed. They also provided this additional graphic that shows basically the dormitory, its location, the parking lots. Gives a little more detail than maybe that aerial provides you. And that concludes the staff report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. All right. So, that was a lot, and it has been a lot. And I know it's a very complex one, but you've given us 4 alternatives for your staff recommendation, so we'll take a dive into this. I know, let's see, Pastor Mo's here and Mr. McElroy's here, so y'all just help us out with some questions here I'm sure we're going to have. So So, gentlemen, you have any questions?
I'd like to start, I got a few right off the top.
Yes,
All right,
sir.
so I'm looking at some preliminary drawings on most stuff. Tell me a little bit about the cabins. I'm not, I just see a place where they're gonna be in there. And at one point I had seen a drawing of them, but I'm struggling to find that right now because this package is so big. What kind of square footage are those cabins? What are they, stick-built cabins? Are they modular units? Or? Well, that's what we want to start out with too, and see which one felt the best, which one everybody liked the best. Do a stick-built and the modular unit.
What square footage are you looking at?
What square footage would you allow? I
Well,
understand
our current ordinance states it's 1,008 square foot.
well, I understand that you all have made an exception to that on, I think it's North Ridge.
North Ridge currently has cabins, and each cabin now is currently over 1,200 square foot. And I verified that by phone call today before I came. And I'm just, like I said, I guess, you know, and I'm not speaking for the chairman or any other board member. For me, this is a land use issue. The thing about the property tax, who can use it, that's not why we're here tonight. Basically, we're here tonight to look at a use that is permissible with restrictions, but it is a special exception. We're making an exception to our rules. And what my goal is here is to, you know, to find that sweet spot between making this happen and protecting the people that live around it. That's what I have to navigate tonight. So I wouldn't want to jeopardize anybody in this room if you were a neighbor. You know, it kind of get where I'm headed with this. I just want to make sure we get this right. This is a huge package. It hadn't been stated tonight, but in one of the two sessions that with the planning commission, I believe it might have been you. It came up. This is roughly a $23 million project. That is a huge project. That's a huge project of this size. So we got to make sure, and we're putting this somewhere that it's really not designed to be. So we got to make sure we get it right, you know. And my goal is to make sure we get it right. I don't want unintended consequences. So this is huge for us to look at. So we're trying to navigate. I will say this. I'll eat my words. I did have a conversation with that gentleman sitting right there. And I gave you some recommendations. And golly, I got it. I apologize to you for saying I didn't. But square footage of the cabins, what was the initial plan?
Around 400 feet.
Okay.
And they're not to be lived in as permanent structures. They would just be for executives to come out, you know, weekend retreat. And Pastor May, you correct me if I'm wrong, in any kind of state. But just to come out, and that way, I mean, it'd be like a hotel room, what it would be like. It's not for, you know, permanent structure. I understand when you do that.
Right.
It's live there permanently. You'd open up, you know, a can of worms. But,
Right. Well, that's not a drop dead. I got to have 400 square foot, and the only thing I'm always concerned is 400 square foot.
That's right.
Okay. It could, because I got right tonight. We're setting precedents for what we do in this community. And if I allow this, if we allow a tiny home or cabin, you can name it what it is, but it's the square footage that caps it. If we allow that, then we have opened that door. And when we open that door, it's going to be difficult to deny the next guy that comes in here or gal that comes in here and wants that. They're going to say, well, you did it for them. So I don't want any unintended consequences. So that's one of the things I would have a recommendation on. In the front, on the plans, it shows some parking lot area. And I know in the past, at the Rock Ranch, there was a field out there, and probably most of the people in this room at some point parked in it. They went to an event there. What is that going to be? Grass? Is it going to be gravel? Is it going to be asphalt?
Be grass.
I didn't see any lighting around that on these plans.
It'll be ran similar to the way, you know, the Captive ran the Rock Ranch.
So there won't be permanent lighting out there lighting it up, or it won't be asphalt, this big asphalt field. It'll be,
you know, a rural field as much as you can. All of them will be made like cabins.
Right.
And, you know, I know it's not part of our permitting process, but I did see some of the stuff in the file here that y'all had obviously contacted someone with a well company and an engineer,
We have a
geologist.
and a
and-
soil scientist.
Right,
so-
and they feel confident you're gonna be able to make this, you know, and obviously I know Mr. Harvey or you or anybody involved in this obviously don't want to build something if you can't get the water, and you gotta have that. But, I just know that that area is prone to lack of water. You know, so, I guess I feel confident that y'all researched that, you're not gonna build it and not have the access to water and sewage there. Right now, that's the only question that I have. I'm sure we'll circle back around, but you kind of answered my questions that I had.
Yeah, I have a question. Sure. In relation to the STEM lab and the prayer house, those were the only two facilities I think were added here recently that didn't have the detailed architectural plans. Are there any plans in the process? Or what are the thoughts for those two facilities, size-wise, use?
Well, that's something Steve or Mr. Harvey just popped on us at the last minute. So we don't have any architecturals currently. They are in process. We can provide you with those once we get them. And of course, you know, we'll go through planning and zoning during the permitting process, and they'll have a full-blown staff. So that's the only reason for that. It was just added late in the game.
Gotcha. And then the other question I have was in relation to the traffic. Has there been any traffic studies done or any discussions
No
with GDOT?
traffic studies. We have reached out to DOT, and you all should have a letter, that's an email chain from the DOT stating that if we weren't doing any work in the right of way, they couldn't require us to make any, you know, ACL, DCL, or any improvements within the right of way. We asked that question. And of course, during event times, if I may speak, Mr. Chairman, during event times, they will have, you know, the sheriff's department or state patrol or, you know, the powers that be to direct traffic and make sure that it flows properly, just as it was when it was the rock ranch.
Mr. Chairman, I want to make a comment. You know, and I want to ask a question about the couple of items that the planning and zoning folks recommended. Back to the traffic on 36, you know, if all of us remember a few years ago, we did everything we could to try to get a thoroughfare from the interstate coming following 36 to go to LaGrange, so it'll alleviate some of the traffic on. So to get items and material from the shipping yard in Savannah coming across to get to LaGrange, and that was, you know, we would love to have, and most of us still would like to have a thoroughfare coming through, and that wouldn't have nothing to do with the ranch as far as the traffic is concerned. My next concern, and a question I want to ask is about the item J and K on the list. J says that, I'd like to see it removed. Outside of the 4 weeks of summer camp, leasing the facility shall be limited to the Stephen Marshall Harvey Foundation, individuals and groups from Upson County and surrounding counties. I don't think that's a good thing to restrict them to. And my next thing I'd like to ask a question about is K. Legacy Ranch shall pursue designation by the Georgia Department of Agriculture as an agritourism business. And out of all the comments and reports that I've heard, nobody said anything about agriculture, tourism, agriculture, planning and items of that nature. Can anybody comment on that? But why is that absolutely necessary?
Well, let me just piggyback on that, because that's one of my questions as well. So, you know, in AR, agritourism is allowed by right. You know, so, I mean, they don't have to ask for, I mean, but I I'm confused as to why the planning commission made that a condition on this, and maybe it was because it was just 305 acres they were worried about, or was it the rest of it? But Doug, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, ag tourism is by right NAR, as long as you are a bona fide ranch, farm, you're growing cows, growing trees, growing grass, you're growing something agriculturally related. You can have corn mazes, you can have, what are some other things? Pumpkin patches, you can, and it's in our ordinance, so they don't have to ask for it.
That's why I was wondering why it was here. It needs to be deleted.
It's a state designation.
Yeah, but we don't have to, nobody has to go back and.
Right. We don't have to put that as a
It's in our ordinance.
Yeah, we don't have, it needs to be deleted.
Okay. Let me, well, I've got a few, as I've been known to have. All right, so, and as I've talked to people that live out there in the surrounding areas, I mean, there's a couple of bigger things they're worried about. Noise, which, we can control that during hours of operation, things like that. As the gentleman mentioned earlier today, fireworks, I mean, that's a concern. I mean, anytime there's a big fireworks show in Upson County, I can guarantee you, our phones are ringing and the sheriff's phones are ringing about commercial fireworks displays. So we might want to talk about that, how often something like that's planned. And I get it, 4th of July and things like that. But I think as long as they're handled, I don't think we can limit it. I mean, that's state law governs fireworks and commercial fireworks displays. But because this is a special exception and it is an agricultural area, it's something that we can put on there. So noise, water, wastewater, we've kind of talked about it. I'm not 100% comfortable on it yet, and I'll get back to that. Traffic, we've addressed. Lighting, that's a big one for me. There's one thing I love about living out in the country, and that's going out at night, on a dark night, and looking up and seeing God's creation. We know that light pollution will filter that out. So I would want to see something as far as the lighting plan. You've already addressed the out by the road stuff, but in the general parking lots around the gymnasiums and the dormitories and stuff like that, and I know there's some pretty cost-effective things you can do to get lighting packages that don't create excessive light, shining down where it should shine, not where you don't want it to. So, but all of that. Cabins, you mentioned cabins. And to piggyback on Commissioner Ellington's, we have people all the time that have river property, and we've stuck to the guns. It's 1,008 square feet, even though that is a cabin on the river. It's not a full-time residence, or it shouldn't be, or that's not what we've done. And we've stuck to our guns on that square footage. And I think you talked about one of the prototypes was a container type tiny home, so that's something we need to talk about that was mentioned earlier today. And I've been pretty on the outskirts of this from very early on, before the Kathy's turned this over, because I had outreach to Mr. Harvey to make sure that I didn't want him to pursue something that would come here and be a substantial problem. I wanted him to know. And so, and the sheriff was with me at that meeting. I kept talking zoning, and Mr. Harvey just finally looked at me and said, "What's this zoning he was talking about?" I said, "Sir, I guarantee you somebody on your staff knows zoning and land use." And that's what's gotten us here today. So, and I appreciate everybody's efforts to get us here today. But I think, and you two gentlemen can speak to this, I think it's been a concern that we would not approve this that has prevented you from getting things like site development plans, doing the civil work. I mean, is that a fair assumption that you and I have talked, and I think you've done I don't want to offend you, an adequate job of doing something in light of not having an engineered set of site development plans to show all of this.
Right. And we didn't want to get the cart before the horse. Obviously, we need approval, and of course, we're gonna have to come back before planning and zoning and submit all this, not in a public meeting, but to submit it.
Well, it doesn't go to planning and zoning, does it? It just goes to our planning, it doesn't go to our planning commission, it just goes to our building official. So,
And obviously, you know, we don't want to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to get denied, so.
I completely understand. But a lot of what I think some of our concerns are, and others' concerns are, would be addressed in those civil plans.
Sure, that's what.
Wastewater, water, lighting, impervious services, you know, your retention ponds, all of that stuff.
Mr. Chairman, if you could make that part of your recommendation, or part of your approval, I mean, we'll get all that. We intend to get all that.
I know, I mean, you have to have it.
That's right.
Yeah, but, you know, we, and, you know, we have projects come to us all the time that are nowhere near the magnitude of this project, that, you know, an example would be a mini warehouse, you know, and we've approved them and we've denied some, but we had to have that stamp set of drawings so that we could have a high degree of confidence that those issues were handled. But I get it, you know, that's a $500,000 to $1 million project. What we're talking here is we have kind of been led $20 million project. So it's something that I think we've absolutely got to have. And, you know, and so, you know, once we say go, you know, once you let the genie out of the bottle, she's gone, you know, so, but you're spot on with that.
Well, as you just said, I mean, we've got to have it.
Yeah.
Meet regulations.
I mean, land disturbance permits,
Sure.
all of that stuff.
That's right.
So yeah. And I'm, you know, like Commissioner Wilder pointed out, I mean, you know, Planning Commission spent a lot of time on this, and they've got quite a lengthy set of conditions that they put on this. And so, again, AR, ag tourism, by right, you can do that. You ain't gotta ask our permission as long as you're doing it right. You know, you got a bona fide ranch, you know, which it was out there, you know. I haven't seen any cows out there lately, but, and I don't say you gotta get cows, but it's gotta be something. So with that, I mean, gentlemen, you have staff's recommendation. You have this planning commission.
I just have a few more
Yes.
questions. I want to get over, you know, I want to cross over into like hours of operation, and I think maybe Pastor Mo may be able to address this better say, is, you know, as far as the camps go, I understand that, and I got a good grasp of that, but explain to me, and I guess the rest of the board, hours of operation for other events. What will that be like? What type of hours are you going to try to operate?
You know what? Honestly, Mr. Harvey he hasn't disclosed that information yet. He don't know what he wants to do, right? It's like I sat down with Mr. Ben Cathy. I said that if you knew that Chick-fil-A was going to be like it was now when you first created it, he said no. He don't know yet. It hasn't been determined yet. He hasn't really had those conversations. Like, our focus is just trying to get approval for that phase one. And then we can kind of talk about hours of operation, usage of the community, and things of that nature. It should just be transparent. We haven't even discussed that.
All right, so I mean, I know we're ready to talk about some, you know, Easter events, some
Yes.
Fireworks, possibly
So
celebrations.
Yes, sir. So kind of doing the same things that the Rock Ranch, you indicated, the Easter egg hunt, the fireworks, the pumpkin patch, the corn maze, and just kind of adding to the wheel by adding the boxing ring, the dorms, the basketball courts. Yes, sir.
Because in looking at this, you know, we got to limit some. There's got to be some times on there. I feel like we wouldn't be doing our duty to sit up here and approve something and say, "There you go."
Yep. Fair.
Well, you know, I feel like our job is to help this project, but then look out for the community too. So we got to find that happy zone. So So if we implemented some type of restrictions on operating hours, say Monday through Thursday, that 10:30 all noise or big lighted events will be done. Not everybody leaves the ranch, that's not what I'm saying, but, you know, outdoor activities creating noise, lights, sounds.
Quiet hours.
Quiet hours, basically, and say to 11:30 on Fridays and Saturday. It runs to 11:30, then after that, you know, it goes by. Is that gonna put a big restriction on your activity?
I mean, I can't speak for Mr. Harvey, but I don't think so.
And you understand why I'm asking that?
Oh, yeah, I understand.
I gotta look out for the
We want to keep it as
neighbors.
rural as possible. I done had hundreds of conversations about, you know, it staying rural and not commercialized. But here's my question. Was there a restriction, because I don't know this, I'm just asking. When the Cathys have it, did they have a restriction on time as far as the events that they had? Because I don't know.
I think everything was done, it was, excuse me. You gotta get recognized. Yeah, all right.
I'm Mark, Solemn with, I live out there close to the rock ranch,
Okay.
originally, and I'm used to what
Well,
we're
okay, sir. So to answer your question, I don't believe that ever happened because it was all under the guise of ag tourism. And they typically, I think, just based on the family nature of everything they did out there, everything was, you know, within a certain time frame. I don't think they ever had anything out there in my experience since I've been back home after probably 10 o'clock at night. Is that, you're out there? Is that?
Yeah, I was gonna say the 4th of July thing probably is the thing that would run the most lengthiest thing, usually by, I don't know, 10:30, 11 o'clock, parking lot cleared out, traffic was gone, lights was down. You know.
Mr. Blackson, that been your experience out there too, that when the Cathys were out there?
Lives right across the road from it.
Yeah.
And I just want to just say this, so we're not gonna have stuff going 7 days a week, right? We got the camps, and then we got it open, like you said, maybe Tuesday, Thursday, so I don't know. But it's not gonna be, it ain't 5 days a week, 10-hour days. I mean, this ain't Disney World, right? I mean, I'm just being honest.
Why not? No, I'm just
you understand what I'm saying?
I understand.
Yeah, we're not.
But we can't approve you for Disney World.
I got you.
We have to consider the other people out there we represent.
Yep.
I mean, we're not trying to find a reason to say no. If we're trying to find a reason to say yes.
This is all done through special exception, and, you know, this is, I mean, one other way that this could have been handled could have been, you could have carved out the 305 acres and done it by rezoning.
Fair.
Rezoned it something else. So by special exception, we're still maintaining that AR designation. It's still rural, and I've heard you say it's gonna stay rural. So,
Yeah, Mr. Harvey, he loves the rural. He got up here himself and spoke about it staying rural. I mean, that's his goal, to make it stay.
well, I know his plan is he wants to live there too.
Yep.
From time to time, so.
He got a lot of.
And you're gonna live there too, right?
Yeah, yes, sir. I'm already living there.
Okay. So as we think about this and the conditions, I mean, obviously, hours. And look, you know, and I'm like with Commissioner Wilder, the condition that the Planning Commission put on here as far as trying to limit this to Upson County and neighboring communities. I mean, we're talking a $20 million investment, and we want to put a handcuff on it as long as it's.
I mean, we don't limit any other business
No.
to who they serve. I guess, I mean, yeah, I think we're all gonna have a bunch of conditions, so, or not a bunch, but just some thoughts. My two biggest items are, one, I'd like to see more details of the plans for the STEM lab and the prayer house, which aren't included in the package. I'd like to see some more details there. And then I would like to see this non-transferable, so it's for the property owner of today. Because I think the foundation has good intentions, but if for some reason they sell it, I don't want the special exception to carry over, because the next property owner may not have the same intentions.
Right. Okay.
Those are my two main items.
All right. This is probably one of the most complex issues that we've had as far as special exceptions and things like that, so I'm trying to figure out what's the most. Yes, sir.
Question, Wild, you had an issue with K, is that it?
Yeah, Jay.
Yeah. Well, now, K is absolutely correct. They would have to pursue the destination of, from the Department of Agriculture.
But why are we gonna make them do it?
Why?
We just say, hey, we're not responsible, but that, if they get that.
It says, here it says, the planning commission said they shall, which means they will. So.
If they so choose, that.
I would just take it out. I mean, it's by right. I mean, that's just my recommendation.
That's mine.
So you want to take the planning commission's conditions and go through those?
Yeah,
That's what I see
let's
you're doing
eliminate
there,
that.
so.
I'm eliminating.
So, A, what was A? What was the first one? Because I go, see what I'm saying, I go to B.
Yeah, I go to B, I don't have that.
I don't, all right, so B, I don't see an A.
I have an A.
Do you? Is the A just the list of the?
Described as approved in the.
Oh, there it is, yeah. Recreational facility uses on site within the 305 acres, special exception area, which may include the following as described in the concept plan. It's everything you see there. So just to take this top to bottom, soup to nuts, cabins not to exceed 12 with a minimum heated square feet of 200. That's the planning commission's recommendation.
Let's go like that.
Right here.
C12, 200.
Do you go put this page on?
I got that, I'm seeing 220 square foot. I recommend we keep that at maintaining AR of 1,008.
Let me ask a question on that. You know, these cabins that he's building is not a permanent.
That's right.
Residence. Like we have a hotel up here that have a overnight lodging that have a whole lot less than 1,200 square feet. What's up with that?
That's a commercial setting. I guess my point is that, what am I gonna tell that guy in my district that we denied to build a 400 square foot cabin that he doesn't permanently live in on the river? We told him you can't do it. And then we turn around and come and say he can do this. We're at liability at that point. That guy can come back and he can challenge our decision.
We have 400 square foot cabin on the river, am I correct?
We don't, but people have asked for that. And we've denied it.
But these gonna have facilities in them. There'll be a restroom, I'll say, in the cabins.
And if I may add.
No cooking facilities in
No
the
cooking
cabins.
facilities.
He wanted to build it for his kids. He wanted to build a cabin for his kids, so when his kids come, they can have somewhere to stay. That's what his thought process was.
Well, on that, and as well, I know you said it could open up Pandora's box, but not really. I mean, you could limit it to somebody that's going to do a $20 million investment for the cabin. So, I mean, you're not asking.
That's putting an importance level on that person.
Well,
And that's saying you're better than you, and I definitely don't do that.
That's a development for the community, though, not that he can afford that, but he's making that contribution to the community for not a personal home, but for some public facility, as well as, you know, he's not putting it on a 1 acre site where he's right adjoining to his neighbor. I mean, he's got it out in the middle of 305 acres, and essentially the middle of 1,500 acres. And I understand where you're coming from. I'm just saying if we can find some common ground, I mean, I think he's not on 1 acre. He's not just asking for one cabin. He's not going to do this, you know, with you know, inferior products. He's going to have a very nice cabin with superior products. I mean, I just wish you'd take that into consideration when you make your decision, because it is an unusual cabin.
Okay.
I have a question to that, and I may shoot myself in the foot, but, so Sproul Bluff, our cabins, how big are those?
There's no restroom facilities in those either.
A community restroom.
That's a, yeah,
Well, that's,
common area with built-in bunks, that's all that is.
well, that's kind of what I was getting at, is it sounds like we may be able to bridge the gap by suggesting collectively over a footprint if it's at the 1,008 square feet, you know, with some type of community restrooms or something. I mean, I don't know, I kind of see what the intentions are, and I would see the difference between that and a resident on the river with a cabin. I think they're different. And I'm pretty sure our stroll bump cabins are probably 400 or less.
Less than 1,000.
Yeah, always, no doubt. I can tell you they're less than 1,000, but once again, they don't have any, they have no facilities inside. Basically, it's, for lack of a better word, it's a tent with a roof on it.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, they're asking for this, you know, like, it would be like a hotel on the property. So it's not, and I guess what I'm getting at is, who does this harm? I understand if you have 1 acre and you put, you know, 200 square foot cabin on the river, you may harm your neighbor. But, I mean, I don't think any of his neighbors could see these cabins from their property without binoculars. So I guess that's my question.
Well, I'm sticking with 1,008. I think we don't need to deviate from our current. I mean, I'm not saying this is hinging the deal, but I'm saying I like to see the exception at least be 1,008 square foot.
Well, and so I have a question, just procedure-wise. I mean, if this is a motion for whatever, which way, it sounds like each of us may have different opinions on certain conditions. So how are we going to get?
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we go through the litany of conditions that we have here and see where we're at? It may be, that might be the only one that you guys may have some contention on. So so dormitory, lodging, multi-purpose, parking area, prayer house, restrooms, rock wall, STEM lab. These rock walls, they're gonna be permanent? They're not like these things that come up?
They're existing. They're existing.
They're existing?
I mean,
STEM labs?
the definition of permanent, I mean, they could be taken down, but they're, you know.
No, I wasn't thinking, these portable ones you say, okay. This approval constitutes phase 1 approval only.
That's
just limited this.
That's just limited to the plan as presented.
This plan as presented. So we're calling this plan phase 1.
Correct.
All right. No motorized activities on site, ATV racing trails, mud bogging, motocross. I mean, you can get out there on your side by side and commute back and forth, but you're not doing any of these other activities. Structures must be constructed at minimum 35 feet from all adjacent properties owned, including environmentally 50 feet from environmentally sensitive zone property and 10 feet. Is there any issues there? Number of permanent resident homes may not exceed that permitted by the underlying AR zoning districts. Cabins may not be used for permanent resident, but shall be defined as any occupant residing there for more than 120 days per calendar year. No recreational vehicles or campers shall be permitted on site unless a specific plan for such use is developed and approved as an amendment. So no campers. Permanent fixtures, structures shall be mapped on a master site plan, which shall be updated regularly when new permanent structures are completed. I don't know what new, I mean, this is phase 1 we're talking about here, so. What do we mean there, Doug? Item F, is that just saying that we're open to this, what does that mean?
Just keep a record of the structures that are there so that, I mean, you can't pick up the concept plan now and maybe 3 or 4 years from now, there are changes and you can't pick up that. You need something that's updated.
But if there's a stamped set of drawings that have a site development plan, all the civil and all that stuff, I mean, so there's no changes then. unless an engineer changes.
We don't know that there won't be changing, we're just saying that as it goes, we need a master plan, and this is also consistent with the previous approval.
So is F needed?
Well, any change would have to require a new permit. I'm assuming,
that-
with its own drawings. I mean, a lot of these, if they're in our ordinance, why are we saying they're a condition? I mean, they're gonna have to meet it anyway.
You're gonna have to.
In order, when they submit their permits. I mean,
Right?
F is not in any regulation we currently have.
Yeah.
So you're saying we need it? All right.
I don't think so.
The following additional activities may be held: Easter events, petting zoo, corn maze, Independence Day, fish feeding, pedal cars. I mean, do we need to get in and start listing events? I mean, when you get out there, I mean, they may want to do barrel racing and donkey rides. I don't know. I mean, we're gonna sit here and try to limit this to everything?
We couldn't create a list.
Are there activities then you want to list of prohibited things other than motorized?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Are there any activities that you would not want to see? I think the activity would be, we talked about earlier, is or commercial fireworks displays. It's not addressed anywhere else in the Planning Commission's recommendation, is it?
No, but part of the presentation, again, in your packet was a brochure that showed, you know,
Right.
4th of July. I don't know many 4th of July celebrations that don't have fireworks, so I think to assume that they won't have fireworks would be a mistake.
Right. But again, commercial fireworks, that's controlled by state law.
Correct.
No matter
But that's
what.
that's if you permit it. It
Yeah.
has to be permitted. That doesn't mean it's got to be approved. Local government can say no fireworks, but if you're going to get a permit, you've got to get a state permit for them.
All right. So we'll come back.
And Mr. Chairman, just getting back to F, so that, F is important for staff, so that when permit requests come for future facilities, if those facilities are not visible on the master plan, then they wouldn't be permitted. So therefore, it would require an update to the master plan to be done before we could issue a permit for construction.
Okay. All regulatory permits will be obtained as required by state, federal law, but not limited to building permits, LDPs, firework permits, etc. All building permits, applications shall be obtained, data shown. Anybody got any issue with that one? No building permit will be issued without such available capacity. There's a lot lumped into those 4 sentences or 3 sentences there.
I mean, design standards, and, I mean, I'm going to leave that up to the permitting process. I mean, in my opinion, I don't want to put limitations on their designs. That's not our job.
Non-compliance with any of these requirements may result in revocation of the special exception by the Board of Commissioners on a portion or all of the subject site. So, y'all understand that? I mean, if you get out there and, you know, you get this built, you retire, the next Pastor Mo comes along and he wants to do something that's not here, then you know, all bets are off at that point. You understand that? Okay. Anything else?
Move J.
Remove J.
Yeah, move J.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So everything in here, I mean, I got, again, I keep mentioning fireworks. Okay, don't, but we've got it in here, they've got to have a permit. There's nothing here about quiet hours. So, you know, I heard your discussion earlier about certain days of the week, but I mean, wouldn't it be just easier to say quiet hours at a certain time, 7 days a week?
Mr. Chairman, you have a precedent from a number of your wedding venues that you've approved. We have normal language that we include. Would you like to use that language for the?
What is that time? Do you remember?
I don't, but we've included that in 3 or 4 special event venues, so maybe we just take that language. things like that. And obviously, you've got.
I mean, old Navy guy, 2200, you go to bed, so taps, lights out. So, is 10 o'clock okay? I mean, all right. I mean, there's really nothing going on after 10 o'clock. So.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I think, and I'll make an exception for 4th of July and a couple, events like that.
Yeah, weekends, holidays.
You're letting the genie out of the box.
Just asking.
I mean,
I say you have
again,
not because you asked not.
you know, cows gotta sleep.
Yeah, I mean, it is AR.
It's AR. I mean, it's not, we're not changing the zoning. I mean, it's, so,
If we're gonna put that, I'd say keep it consistent with our other venues.
well, we don't know what that is, and we want to do this
I
tonight.
can probably go through previous PowerPoints and find it.
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I got a lot to do here, so I would just like to see a condition on here, quiet hours be established at, 10 to 6 a.m. Does that work for y'all? I don't know how you wake your campers up. You got cat cannons going off. So 10 to 6, quiet hours. That's 8 hours. Cows can sleep for 8 hours.
Mr. Chairman, I need a definition. What does quiet hours mean? I don't know what that means. For instance, in those other venues, you can still have unamplified music, but you can't have amplified music. So activity can continue, but it's got to be quiet activity. So I need a better definition of what quiet hours are so that we can enforce it.
I think we keep it consistent with the other venues. Just take that language.
Do you have that? Is that language in the other ones?
I mean, I think
Well,
it'll be in there.
the wedding, yes, we've been very consistent with the wedding venues, yes. If you want me to search for that in previous PowerPoints.
Well, we're trying to get this done tonight, and we don't have this, so.
Well, I don't think we have to have the detail, just, I mean, it's gonna be better than for them. So I don't know why we can't just say, take that language and duplicate it. We don't have to know the specifics. We'll be here all night.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to have conversations outside, please feel free to do so, but we're trying to stay focused here. It's kind of hard to do it when I see all these sidebar conversations going on. Okay, so put that in some verbiage that he can write down.
Consistent with our other venue restrictions.
I don't even know what that is, though. I mean, so Doug, you think it's 10 o'clock to?
Well, it sounds like the
For
things
instance,
that.
Steve Harper's Ranch, we had specific, there's.
That's a good one to
language
use.
there.
I mean, it's right out there in the AR area, so whatever that one is.
Okay.
It'll still allow activity to go on, it's just the loud stuff would be limited.
Loud music.
Okay.
I mean, I think it would be more beneficial than just putting a hard time on it.
Well, we know noise ordinances are very difficult to enforce.
I was about to say,
And that's why I like, from this time to this time, it is what it is. And if, hey, if you're out there in 305 acres and your neighbor a quarter mile away can hear you, you're probably a little bit loud. Okay,
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to offer a motion that we
please.
approve this with a few of these exceptions.
These conditions.
With these conditions, yes.
minus the ones we've taken off.
Minus the one we've taken off, of course. Yeah.
All right, and I'll summarize that here in just a second.
I'll second.
We have a motion made and seconded to approve. Any further discussion? Yes. One thing we didn't talk about is conditionally approved once we see a site plan. Stamp set of engineered drawings, architectural drawings, and all of that. I mean, wastewater, stormwater, water, sewer, all that's got to be done before staff issues a single permit.
I don't think we can get one without it.
Just want to make it clear. Genie's out of the box. I don't want it, we want to make it just as, so you would be very comfortable at this point knowing you're approved. Now you go get the engineers to draw it up to make it work.
That's the next step.
Okay? Can I just put that as a condition on there?
I'm good with that.
So I'd ask you to amend your motion to include language that no permits will be issued until all civil, what else am I missing, Doug? Architectural, civil, what am I missing? You do this all the time.
MEP.
Wastewater.
All right.
Potable water.
Stormwater. Wastewater. Water. Civil. Architectural. That covered? Okay. All right. So you would offer that as an amendment to your motion? Second that as is?
So
Okay.
we're keeping the 80 square foot on
The 220 or 1,008?
yeah, where we at on that?
Well, their motion is to approve it as 220.
Okay.
I think I see it right on the wall, and okay, well, I have a motion made and seconded. You want to elaborate?
I'll elaborate during my vote.
All right, motion made and seconded
For.
for,
Yea or why, yea or why, nay.
so the conditions are outlined here, items A through I, adding no permits will be issued until we have the engineered plans and the architectural plans for stormwater, wastewater, water, and the civil site development plans. So is that clear, Doug? Clear as mud? Yeah, I know you got this recorded, you'll be able to come back.
No, because y'all talked about some other stuff in here coming out. And when you just.
I eliminated J and K.
Okay, you talked about, G during the, not limiting what events?
That's true. Mr. Wilder, G, where we were limiting it to those events. Easter events, petting zoo, corn maze, fishing.
There had been some discussion about striking that one as well. That's what we're trying to.
We talked about striking that. Was that your intention to strike that?
Yes.
Okay, is that your intention as well? So, I'm gonna make sure I got this motion right. So, the conditions, approving the special exception with the conditions outlined in A, B, C, D, E, F, H, I, and adding the condition that no permits will be issued without until the architectural work is done, the civil design, water, wastewater, and stormwater, which is all part of the civil. So, did I get that motion right?
Can we?
Close enough? All right.
Additional discussion real quick?
Yeah.
I kind of see where this is going, and I'm wondering if we don't need to address, if it's going to result to the cabins and that square footage, I kind of see what the outcome is going to be.
And by the way, and then adding the quiet hours from whatever.
Well, and I think Commissioner Wilder potentially would amend his motion somewhat in order to bridge the gap.
Something other than 200 square feet.
Because I see where I'm trying to see where it's going.
All right, well, let's go there. I've got a motion, I've got a second. no, I mean, we can talk about it some more, we can vote on it, and then,
I'm just simply saying, from my standpoint, I know citizens that in what we consider a recreational area along the river in my district that have came to me and said, Commissioner Allen, I want to build this. I don't live here. I put tents up, I'm camped here. Now I want to build this. I'm not going to live here. We're just going to spend the night in this. And we've told them no. Have we not told them no, Doug?
Yes.
I took them down, and we're talking about places that are off the river, Yellowgate. We had to cross a mile of private property to get back there to where people have on land and have cabins, and we told them, no, you can't build this. You can't, if you gotta treat people equal. I don't think there's anybody in this room here tonight that thinks that you can, because you got money, you can have this, and because you don't, you got that.
okay.
It ought to be equal.
All right, ladies and
when
gentlemen.
they call me, I'm gonna tell them point blank, come on up there, let's put it before the commission.
Okay. I was gonna call for a vote, but I agree with you, because I see where this is going as well.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be a 2-2,
Yep.
and we're gonna be
Here
letting a
on
lot of
that.
people down tonight, because this is gonna
That's the
die,
only
because we're
hinge I
talking
have in
about.
this whole
And
process.
that's what I'm saying.
So I'll make this statement, and I'll let Mr. McElroy or Mr. Pastor Moe. If all of this comes down to 1,008 square foot cabin, you'll find a way to build it 1,008 square feet. We ain't telling you what it's gotta look, it's gotta be 1,008 square feet. If you put a wall down the middle of it, and
There you
Mr.
go.
Harvey's son sits, one sleeps on one side and one sleeps on the other, it's still one structure, but technically it's, you'll find a way, won't you?
Makes sense.
That's sure.
We have not crossed that bridge with tiny homes in this community yet.
Yeah.
It's coming. So maybe if and when we get there, and you haven't done these cabins yet, who knows? But, we got a lot of work to do on comprehensive planning and stuff like that.
I will amend my motion to include the cabin size to meet the minimum square feet that we already have set up as 1,000 square feet.
Second.
All right. Yes, sir?
Can I say something real quick? Chairman, when that happens, somebody gotta be the first though, right? I'm saying when you do decide to let
Yes.
somebody gotta be the first, am I right or wrong?
Well, it's not likely you're gonna be the first one tonight.
I understand.
So we want to get this done, right?
Okay, all right, I yield my time.
Okay, so I have a motion made and seconded. I've read the conditions, but the modification is 1,008 square feet on the cabins. Any more discussion? All right, do I need to restate it again? You got it.
I think I had it.
I have a motion made and seconded to approve the special exception with those conditions that we had put out. And don't forget the quiet hours one in there. And nothing's going to happen until we see stamped set of drawings for all this stuff. Okay?
The quiet hours that we're using
We'll
From our special event.
we'll mirror Harper
Or any
Pines.
other ones that we've got.
Harper Pines is a good example. Okay, hearing no more discussion. Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Abstain.
Commissioner Wilder?
Yes.
Chairman Allen?
Yes. Thank you.
We're done. Thank you.
Next on the agenda. Man, it's all that work. If y'all would please, we still got business to take care of. Quietly exit. We got other business to attend to. All right. All right, I'll give you 2 minutes to leave the room, and then I'm gonna start.
Mr. Chairman, may I be excused?
Yeah, go ahead, just go ahead. We can go on without you. Pastor Moe.
I'm just going.
Oh, he's already gone?
No, he's on that side.
Okay, y'all. That's all we can afford, Chair. Okay. If y'all would please. We got. All right. You've never met me. My name's Norman Allen. I'm Chairman of the County Board of Commissioners. Nice to meet you.
Pastor Mo, it's a pleasure.
Why haven't you met me? All right. Easy to find. Good luck to you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Next on the agenda, special exception, SPX 202208. Property owners Walter and Leanne Clark of Upson County requested the Upson County permit temporary resident RV during construction of their home at 1365 Willis Road. Property is 5.58 acres more or less. And just okay. With that, I'd like to open the public hearing. I have a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
All right, all in favor of opening the public hearing? Public hearing is open. So I do have Mr. Clark. You, as you've seen, you get, if you would just come up here, sir, and you get 5 minutes, and you state your name and the address for the record.
My name is Walter Clark, 1365 Willis Road, and I more or less came to answer the questions than to ask questions. So,
Okay.
if you have any questions for me, you know.
All right. Okay. Well, we may have some. We'll see. All right. Thank you, sir. All right. There'll be no one else signed up for public comments. I have a motion to close that hearing. All in favor of closing the public hearing? Public hearing is closed. Mr. Curry.
Yes, sir. This is a very traditional case that you see quite a few of, at least probably once a month. There is no pre-existing RV. It is not there early, as you saw in the photos in the staff report. They are permitted as accessory uses during construction. This is a provision in the codes. The owners are Leanne and Walter Clark. 5.58 acres on the north side of Willis Road, east of Barnesville Highway, west of Midway. It does not lie in a flood hazard zone. This is an AR zoned area. Actually, this land was just in the last couple of years subdivided. These are some of those lots now being populated. Very heavily wooded in the area, low density uses. We have our standards, standard review standards that we are supposed to use to look at these proposals by the Board of Commissioners and the Planning Commission. We have additional requirements based on generally speaking, water and wastewater issues. Obviously, the purpose of this ordinance back in '95 was to make sure that the RV was not lived in perpetually and that the home was built. So the well not only has to be approved, the septic tank not only approved, but they have to be being used by the RV. All of those provisions are taken care of. We've cited the permits. The well is in place, the septic tank is in place, ready to be used. Staff recommends approval. Generally, these are pretty cookie cutter. We use these, use this mechanism on a regular basis. This is a temporary use only, and they follow the evaluation criteria. There's no inconsistencies here. And again, unlike some of your earlier cases, they have not prematurely put the RV in. The Planning Commission also heard this case at its August 8, 2020 meeting. They recommended approval with 12-month stipulation for the maximum tenure of the RV on site. It's the aerial photograph. This is 2020. You can see they've got their power pole. I presume that's the well underneath the tarp. They were on site when I was there to take my photo, so the family is there. They do have a shed, pre-existing shed. And we have some cleared areas. Otherwise, it's wooded. That concludes my staff report, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. So gentlemen, you have the recommendation from the staff for approval of this special exception, or any questions, or?
No, I'm just grateful you asked before you moved.
That's right. Thank you.
Thank you for doing that.
Thank you for doing that.
I think I would do it the right way.
That's right.
When are you gonna start building?
Well, as soon as the builder gets over there and gets started, you know, right now, he told us that he's finishing up on another house, and as soon as he finished this other house, he's gonna be our way.
So it said in here you got, so is it you and your wife and 2 children?
Yes, my 2 sons.
Okay. RVs get small quick, don't they?
Tell you what, we've been in an RV for about a year now.
All right.
And where we live in we live out there, Flint River site out there. That's the only one we can find in Upson County. We want to keep the kids so they can go to Upson schools, you know. But it's not the ideal place for kids. I mean, I don't know if you're all familiar with that place, but there's no other kids out there.
Where's this?
Flint River.
36.
I'm 36, so.
Yeah, right.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I got you.
There's no other kids out there. It's all adults. They're mostly men. And my kids, you know what I mean? You got to keep your eye on them all the time. You don't want them to get out of your eyesight. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. All right. So
we just need to get them back on, you know.
Civilization.
There you go.
we'll see if we can help you. Is there a motion on this?
I'll make a motion to go ahead and approve it.
I have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
This is for, Mr. Chairman, this is for the 12-month limit?
Yes.
Thank you.
Just like as presented.
Okay. Thanks for clarifying. Okay, so I have a motion made and seconded to approve for 12 months. Hearing no further discussion, Ms. Jones.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilder?
Yes.
Chairman Allen?
Yes. Next on the agenda.
Welcome to the neighborhood.
Yes, sir.
Hey, thank you very much.
I ride by there frequently.
Hey, I appreciate it.
We just paved that road too, so enjoy that paved road.
Oh, it is nice.
All right. Where'd you move from?
Kansas City.
Oh, wow. How
You
did you end up here?
You gonna open up a barbecue restaurant for us?
Well, you know, I thought about that.
We'll talk about this more later. All right.
I thought about it.
Economic development, man. Keep it going. Sheriff likes barbecue too.
Hey, I could make some mean
Kansas City barbecue.
I think everybody likes barbecue.
Well, welcome to our
Good
community.
barbecue.
Thank you.
Kansas City's known for good barbecue.
That's it. All right. Next on the agenda are public comments. I have no one signed up for public comments. So moving right along, gentlemen, next is the consent agenda. On the consent, you have the approval of the August 23rd regular meeting minutes and the approval of the purchase of the basketball goals for the Civic Center. Is there a motion on the consent?
Chairman,
And there's one other.
we amended the agenda. You don't have the, I'm sorry, I
Okay,
apologize.
what, no,
It's in your packet.
and the other is the,
approval of the wood.
oh, okay, and then the approval of the proposed comprehensive plan scope project from Wood Environment Infrastructure.
Yeah, the agreement that we discussed at the work session.
Yes, sir.
And then,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I think the other item was the recognition for Mr. McGee.
But that's
Is
that's
that-
Separate item.
that did.
We have that under. Sorry.
Okay. All right, so gentlemen, you have the,
So moved.
is there a second?
Second.
A motion made, and seconded to approve the consent as presented. Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilder?
Yes.
Chairman Allen?
Yes. Next on the agenda is a presentation. It's a presentation of Mr. McGee for his services to Upson County on emergency medical services. And as we now know, because Mr. McGee is posting a lot of pictures on Facebook, he's out on the northern edge of the Grand Canyon. So with that, Jason?
So, Mr. Chairman, we wanted to keep the minutes consistent with how his plaque reads, so we left it on the agenda, but if it pleases the commission, when he returns from his great trip, which is going to be quite a few many weeks from now, he has agreed to come to the second meeting we have in October, and then at that point, I would ask the chair to allow me to give my remarks about.
So you're asking us to table this presentation until the October?
I would just say, Mr. Chairman, we'll put it back on the agenda, and we'll do the presentation there, if that's okay.
Okay.
Motion to table.
October the 20th.
So, I think what we just need is a motion to just remove and have the staff add it later. If we table it, we need to put a date on there, I think, so.
That's right.
So if we just remove it from the agenda to be added.
Motion to move.
Motion to remove this from the agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Well, Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilder?
Yes.
Chairman Allen?
Yes. All right, new business. Discussion and appointment to the library board. Gentlemen, what we normally do is, we have these, do we have multiple candidates? I know we do for the planning commission.
Are they hidden somewhere in
It
here?
was, no, can I go get, I'm sorry, let me go grab the one that we had. It was only one for the library. Sorry.
Okay, well, while you go do that, I'm gonna move ahead and go to item F, if that pleases the board, discussion and possible consideration of the purchase of flock cameras for the sheriff's department.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, so this was an item that was included as a submission in this year's budget during our budget process last November, and at that time the sheriff had given us a pretty detailed report on what the request was. What you have in your packet is a quote for the cost, which is consistent with the amount we have in the budget, and then you also have in your packet some pretty detailed information about where the sheriff is.
Is that included, Georgia?
It is, yeah. But we may have some that want a paper copy rather than a digital copy.
It's easier to look at.
So anyway, Mr. Chairman, in your packet, the sheriff has been so gracious as to detail the exact placements of these, potentially not necessary for approval, but for your information.
Yes.
I do appreciate the sheriff, after we approved the budget, he's had a few meetings and discussions with different firms that provide this service. During that time, I've been able to discuss different solutions with some of my own colleagues across the state whose either police departments or sheriff's office have deployed this type of technology, and I very quickly learned, as the sheriff did independently, that this, what is called the flock safety system, not only is the most prevalent used in Georgia, but it's the most cost efficient from a deployment standpoint. And the thing I really liked about it was that it's a service. So they go out and deploy the equipment, and they maintain the equipment, and if the equipment malfunctions, they come and replace it as a part of the agreement. And I think that's kind of what set them apart, aside from the fact that there's, I think, 60 or 70 other communities in Georgia that use it. So with that, I will yield my time back to the chair.
Sheriff.
Good job, Jason.
Did he leave anything out?
He did not. It seems to be the best system that's operational in Georgia. It certainly is, for our area, we would have more communication between our system and, say, Pike County, who has 18 cameras, and the city of Thomaston, who has 12 cameras. They're in the process now, I think, of putting one out at the Farview Apartments property that will be on the gate there, as well as the housing authority. I think the negotiations to install some of these on their property. There is a private-public partnership between different either neighborhood associations or corporate locations that can install these cameras. Law enforcement can communicate there and receive that information. However, these people don't receive law enforcement's information. What happens on the cameras is that the technology exists to read the tag of the car, and it would report to us stolen vehicles, people who were entered as wanted, that were associated with GCIC records, those types of information. In the past, we've operated license plate readers, which we've found to be pretty expensive. Those are antiquated now and need a replacement. This technology, and a license plate reader is usable only to the person driving the vehicle that's assigned to. These are accessible to every deputy as they come on duty. They would log into this system and they would get alerts as they work their shift.
It also gives us the ability to enter information if we're looking for a particular vehicle that maybe is a suspect in a crime, or to search for a particular vehicle that was leaving the area of a crime. Somebody that we knew, a blue Toyota Corolla, had committed a burglary in the neighborhood or whatever, then we would be able to enter that information in to get alerted when that vehicle comes by. Or to search for one that, maybe we didn't necessarily have the tag number for, but we had a vehicle description for as it left the scene of crime. So this is great technology. I talked to the sheriff today in Pike County. They recovered a lot of stolen vehicles and solved a lot of crimes in that community with them. Talked to the police chief here as well, who reported the same information. I can tell you firsthand that we were at a homicide case a while back, and the technology that we got off the flock system was tremendous in aiding us to solve that crime. So I think that we'd be benefited as a community to install the cameras and maintain that program.
Okay, so what it comes down to is, because this is a SPLOST expenditure, correct?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
And so what we're asking for is total price is a 2-year contract for $64,200. That's what we're asking for tonight. And then the recurring after 2 years is $30,000.
It's $2,500 per camera per year. And they do all the maintenance and have all the service on it.
So once we do this and we purchase this with Splosh, 3 years from now, is this just going to be part of your normal? But I guess it'd be just part of the normal budget because Splosh would be able to pay for it, would it?
Yeah, at that point, it's essentially a subscription, so yeah, so that it would become a general revenue expense after 2 years. Mm-hmm.
Well, how can we use Splosh to pay for this? Because so the cameras themselves so the second year is a subscription for $30. Is that not correct?
Yeah, and I've asked the same question before, Mr. Chairman, when it comes to deployment of new technology as far as software is concerned. So generally, the guidance I've been given is that, in your initial deployment, it's something that we're going to
capital.
Exactly.
You can make the argument that it qualifies as
capital. And I know some people and some of my colleagues in their finance departments and others, just depending on the guidance, the legal guidance and the audit guidance they get. Some of them have this as an ongoing SPLOST expense because they have something similar in their referendum to we do. Because in ours we call it public safety equipment that's specific to our 2016 SPLOST. So it's something I feel more than comfortable recommending. It's certainly if.
Just want to make sure we're paying for it, right?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
All right. So. You have staff recommendation of approving this SPLOST purchase for $64,200 for the flock system install. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the flock cameras.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? When will they be installed?
I'm told that we possibly could have them up in November, depending on. There's some right-of-way work that has to be done for the ones that are on the state right-of-way. I feel certain we can get the county right-of-way done pretty quickly.
You got some kind of.
We do have
a lot of these are state routes.
We do have
all of them state routes.
You need to look at I'm glad he handed out this. It looks like they're all state routes, but
no, they're not.
From the printout, but when you look on here, it gives you.
Okay.
Tri-Cemetery Road.
Okay, so I have a motion made and seconded. Is there any more discussion? Hearing no further discussion, Ms. Jones.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilder?
Yes.
Chairman Allen?
Yes. Thank you, Sheriff.
Do we have any more, or are these your first ones, Sheriff?
These will be our first.
And all the other ones you see are the cities?
They belong to the city, and Pike County's got some. Lamar County's going to put them in their budget for next year. So they're coming.
And it is one out there by the cemetery out yonder. That's in the city.
It's a Georgia-based company too. So
So you can run, but you can't hide.
You run,
Just don't
you
tell them
can
where they are.
And I'd like to make it very clear, these are not ticket cameras.
Right.
I was gonna say that, but I figured it.
They're not to mail somebody.
They're not general. Okay.
So somebody's caught speeding.
But it's okay. They don't register, they'll drive slow.
Yeah, not these cameras.
Tag reader for that.
But you can change it to look for a certain tag number, and it'll pop up. You can make it do delinquent tags. You can do a lot of stuff with it.
Well, if for example, if there's a lookout for a car, Fulton County,
And it's inbound, we'll get it.
and so that, it notifies that database, and if that vehicle passes one of our flock cameras, the deputy that's logged on to that is gonna see that, and they're gonna know which direction to travel.
Yeah.
And will that go to the officers in the city?
Yes.
And theirs goes to ours?
Theirs will go to ours.
That's great.
Even, I'm told, I believe we can even have the state patrol log in. Now, what you gathered from that conversation?
Yeah, and as long as we apply the appropriate share rights, any law enforcement agency in the state could have access to it, depending on the sheriff's level of participation.
We've gotten a complimentary login, and I've already gotten information share guarantees from different law enforcement agencies all over. So, you know, it's up to the agency to share their information, but almost everyone shares it because it's beneficial to everybody.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, I'll offer one stat that I got from a colleague that stood out with me. After a 12-month deployment in the city of Brookhaven, my colleague, they saw an 83% decrease in stolen vehicles, or open cases for stolen vehicles. They're able to, so word got out that, you know, you don't steal vehicles in Brookhaven anymore. That's one of the issues, but the ones that do get stolen, their recovery rate's very high.
Now, I'm not trying to tip anybody's hands here, but if they remove the tag,
Still gets the description of the
Yep.
vehicle, so you can.
so it still identifies that white F-150 with a Sun South decal on it, even though they got tag.
They're not gonna be looking for them. But I had a personal experience in Gainesville.
Why do you think I said that?
Gainesville, Georgia, over $100,000 worth of product was stolen in Bartlesville, Georgia. And that vehicle was caught on a flock camera in Gainesville, Georgia. And 2 hours later, they were apprehended.
I'll give you a for instance here. We had a missing person that had suffered some dementia, left Upson County and was caught on flock camera in South Fulton County. We were able to track through that system as the person was coming down Highway 85, and we had contacted the law enforcement people over in Peachtree City who were standing by to stop them, so we could get them recovered. And thankfully, they pulled into a store and asked for help before they got there. But we could actually see that person as they were traveling from South Fulton across Fayette. So,
Cool stuff.
cutting edge.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate y'all.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, next on the agenda is discussion of let's go back up. Discussion and appointment to the library board. We also have a discussion and appointment to the Upson County Planning Commission. We have 3 applicants for the Planning Commission and 2 for the library. We typically go into executive session and do this, so and we don't have an executive session on here, but so what I'll do then, I'll just ask, and we will, after executive session, obviously comment on this, and I don't think, for Dave, for your benefit, this is going to take a long time, so can I have a motion to add an executive session for personnel to discuss the appointments? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, in a minute, we're gonna go into executive session. I suspect it'll probably take about 5 minutes and we'll be back out. And then we'll probably take action on this and then we'll close the meeting for tonight. So if you give us 5 minutes, is there a motion to enter executive session? So moved. Is there a second? Sure. All in favor? Give us 5 minutes.
Some of y'all stay.
What do you got? Jessica, you just gonna keep it live fed, or you got something to put up?
I can mute it or I can hit it.
Okay.
You see me crying. Oh, Lord, man. I thought they were going to continue.
That's the way we feel right now. Marathon. I think this might be,
The rest of the meeting's free.
other than work sessions, this might be the longest.
Right, Dave?
Dave,
I always tell people the
buy
rest of the
dinner?
meeting's free.
Okay, we're back live,
Right,
right?
may as well stay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are, we already had a motion to exit executive session, so we are back in. regular session? We don't need to vote on that, do we?
No, we voted on that.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so next on the agenda is obviously the discussion and appointment to the library board. We have 2 vacant positions and we have 2 applicants. Is there a motion on this?
I call for a motion that we accept the 2 applicants to fill those 2 positions.
Ms. Andrews and Ms. Massengale?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. I have a motion to appoint Ms. Andrews and Ms. Massengale to the library board. Is there any other discussion? Hearing no discussion, Ms. Jones.
Commissioner
Yes.
Watson.
Yes.
Commissioner Ellington.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Wilder.
Yes.
Chairman Allen.
Yes. And for the planning commission, we have 1 vacant position and we have those 3 applicants, Mr. Steve Hudson, Ms. Massengale, who we just appointed to the library board, and Mr. Marty Murphy. So is there a motion on this appointment?
I'll make a motion that we appoint Mr. Murphy.
I have a motion to appoint Mr. Murphy. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion to appoint Mr. Murphy made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Okay. Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Watson.
Yes.
Commissioner Ellington.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Wilder.
Yes.
Chairman Allen.
Yes. And I appreciate everybody taking the time to apply for these positions. You know, we know it's difficult to sometimes find people that are willing to serve, especially in voluntary positions, especially in a role like on the planning commission. We know the number of hours that those people have to commit to. So, thank you. So, comments, Jason?
Mr. Chairman, very quickly. Number one, I want to thank our deputy in the meeting today who handled everything, I think, with a lot of poise and calm. So thank you very much. I know that was a difficult situation he was in, and I think he handled it flawlessly, so I'm very appreciative of that. I just have a few more thank yous and then I'm done. So as the board's probably aware, I mean, there's still a lot of COVID-related dollars that are passing through the state in varying forms of grants that are coming out, and one after the other. And our staff is quickly jumping on these and getting applications in. And I'm happy to tell you that because of the hard work of Ben Berryhill, Jeannie at the Regional Commission, and Alan Salter, that our submission for a COVID relief grant for our well rehab has been resubmitted in the second round of funding for COVID relief through the OPB office at the state. So we made it on.
I thought you were going to tell us we got it.
No.
Okay.
Now that's when y'all go to work to go make sure we get it. But it was submitted and accepted. So I just want to say thank you to the people I just mentioned for making that happen. That turnaround was amazingly fast. So and of course Chris Brazel from EMC. All those folks had to work really hard to get that done. And along those same lines, Sarah Williams, who works at the Bluff, she's been working with Chris and I on the DNR grant submission, which is due in a few days, and she's put in just a lot of extra hours, a lot of due diligence, at the same time trying to complete her master's program at Oregon State remotely. So if she's watching, thank you. It's been a lot. It's been a lot of stress for all of us, but she's been doing most of the work, and I'm just very appreciative of that. Lastly, back to the water staff. They were under a lot of pressure last week, and they delivered with not a lot of sleep, and some of them were sick. Some of them were so sick that I'll leave it at that. They stayed on the job until the job was done. So, thank you. That's it.
Okay. Ms. Jones, you got anything for us?
I don't.
Calendar's very full. We've got to be flexible. We've got a lot of stuff coming down the pipe with budget hearings and joint projects and everything. So just
I'll be sending that out again.
please, respond to Jessica when she sends it out, because again, it's trying to herd cats. Mr. English, you got anything for us tonight?
No, sir, thank you.
Mr. Watson?
I don't have anything.
Mr. Ellington?
Just to echo what Jason was saying about staff, especially our water department. Those guys were in a unique, difficult situation, and I think they handled it to the best of their abilities with their resources. And I'm not sure it could have been handled any better by anybody. And thanks to our contractor who we were able to rely on to
Coggins Construction.
You know, a hometown guy. You know, he came to our rescue too. He did. Obviously, it wasn't free, but he came to our rescue. And at that point, when you get that many people without water, you got to act. So I say, and the only other thing is, I guess it's more of a reminder for Jason. I was just wondering, and you don't have to answer that tonight. You can catch me one off, but I don't want to forget it. Is to, you know, I was checking to see if we had any discussion with GFL about the curbside pickup and the cardboard and those type of things. And other than that, that's really all I have tonight.
Mr. Jones, been quiet tonight.
Well, I had to be. Yeah, I know people didn't understand because I couldn't talk, but it was a conflict of interest, and that's that. But anyway, so I want to thank all the county employees, water department especially, but there's a lot of people in this whole county that, you know, they do good work every day. And road department to financial department. So, you know, that's it. I'm ready to go get me something to eat.
Mr. Wilder?
I don't have anything, but not to concern this meeting tonight, but I do want to make mention that you and Jason probably to get together for next Wednesday or Thursday. I know Jason got a function next Wednesday, he'll be late getting back in for that meeting with the Lincoln Park folks again.
If we could just figure out what works. I mean, calendars are stretched, so but we do need to get them back in.
Get
Find out.
together with a date so I can at least relay it back to the folks. I'm pretty much very flexible over the next week and a half.
Okay, and to be redundant, I'll tell you, I went out there to the water tower when the second break happened out there, and you talking about a mess that those guys were dealing with. But you know, Ben, you know, and his guy or guys. I mean, they really stepped it up, and Coggins did a great job too. I mean, it was messy work, but they got it done, and then, you know, and then the very next day, they still had other issues they were chasing down. So, but you know, it's like anytime anything like happens like that, you know, we may not get it perfect, but we learn from it, and so, you know, we've got some lessons learned from that evolution, and we'll be better the next time we have something like that happen. Doug, I want to thank you and the Planning Commission. I mean, it was a lot of work. We know, all of us up here know what you went through to get what seemed to be a constant moving target, a changing thing, to the point that we got it to, and we got it done tonight. And we wouldn't have been able to do that without a lot of work from you and the Planning Commission. So thank you. I think again, as we evolve and we learn, you know, maybe some things that we need to do better. I think one of the things that we need to look at, added to our list, is possibly updating an ordinance that doesn't put us in a situation where we're accepting an application without a complete application. I think our ordinance already says that, and you know, and I understand it's a fine line between trying to help someone achieve something they want to achieve, and you know, and going ahead and accepting that application and getting the process running because you want to get it done. But this was, I mean, anyway, maybe going forward we can say we'll take your application when everything is done. And so if you need some help from us on, you know, I think you know, we want to see site development plans. We want to see civil design stuff and things like that. But in our quest to be accommodating for this project, I mean, I think it just, we painted ourselves in a corner, in my opinion. And you know, so, but we got it done, and we couldn't have got it done without all the the work that you put into this. Yeah. And then, lastly, we had our first meeting today with some of the folks in the city on joint projects. I don't think it's going to require some time. I don't think it's going to be too contentious, but we'll get there. As soon as we have something that we can share with y'all or, publicly, we'll do that. But we kind of hit the high points on the easy ones today, and we stalled when we got to one of the more challenging ones. So we'll get there. And, we got a lot on our plate and not a lot of time to get it done. So with that, I don't think there's anything else. Any by the ways?
Mr. Chairman, you were going to mention the next meeting.
Oh,
And absence.
yeah, I'm not going to be at the next meeting. Y'all tagged me to go be the voting rep down at ACCG's legislative meeting. So Jason and I will be out of pocket. So y'all are in charge.
Now, this
Drive it like you stole it.
This one is.
It's a dangerous thing, you and Jason.
Drive it, Jessica.
I didn't get to talk to Dave that night, though.
Yeah, maybe don't drive it like you stole it. Remember where you got it and how you got it. So with that, if there's nothing else, is there a motion to adjourn? All right, we're adjourned. Thank y'all for all coming. Thank y'all for hanging. Y'all deserve special recognition for being here the longest of any citizen
Do you want to still then,
in my time.
next meeting, have the kickoff meeting for comp plan, or do you want to delay that?
We're still live.
We're still live, folks.
I'll ask the vice chair.
If we're going to do it next meeting.
Want to do it as a compliant? Would it make sense to go ahead and get it done as a compliance measure?